Hello and welcome to another Total War Warhammer guide. Today we are looking at the Bretonnian Spearmen-at-arms and the Men-at-arms with the polearms. So the Bretonnian army isn't fully built, it's not playable in the campaign yet, but you can play it in multiplayer battles, and of course you will face it a lot in the campaign, especially if you're playing Empire like me. I'm fending off Bretonnian armies right, left and centre with a big stick at the moment. So they're not a fully fledged army, they don't have a complete set of units. I think that's going to be one of the first DLCs in the game, is to introduce these guys. More units, all the other units that the Bretonnians have, to make them a playable campaign. So I'm really looking forward to that. But in the meantime, we're going to look at units they do have. So these are going to be the backbone of the Bretonnian army. These are Spearmen at Arms. They're shielded, so they take less damage from missiles. They also anti-large with their spears. So anti-large is anything horse or larger. They have, they can do more damage. I'll show you the breakdown of that all in a minute. They've got a good charge defense against all, because they're basically a very defensive unit. They sit there with their shield in front, spear ready to pokey shit, right? Pokey shit, that is a technical term. Okay, trouble is, as with men at arms, they're hired help, so they do suffer from a poor leadership, as you can see as we go through them. So they're very lightly armoured, pretty much, for what should be a good fighter unit. They're quite low armoured with 30 armour. Their leadership is only 48, which we're talking orc and goblin level. That's how bad that is. Speed of 31, melee attack of 24, melee defense of 38, and a weapon strength of 26. As you can see the breakdown here, you get a weapon damage of 20, an armor piercing, very small amount, but you get a bonus versus large of 14, which is it's a good increase. So if you're fighting those cavalry, they become a decent unit. And a ridiculously bad charge bonus, because they don't charge, they're ready to accept charges. So as you saw, expert charge effect when bracing the unit negates the charge bonus of the attacker. Amazing against cavalry and those scary stuff like that. And they can hide in a forest, like all humanoid characters can. So, and they come in units of 90, both units do, and they've got 5,200 hit points. So now we go on to the polearmed guys. So very sort of similar stats. They're like sort of slightly upgraded, so as you'll see. They're armor piercing with those big polearms. They're anti-large characters, and again they have their charge defense against all. What they miss out on is that shielded defense, especially against missiles damage. So they've got slightly more hit points, 5,499. Armour 30, which is the same. Slightly better leadership, 56 or so, still not great. So you need to keep that lord with them at all times in the middle of the battle, just to keep their leadership at high. Speed 31, melee attack of 26, melee defense of 40. It's sort of pretty similar. Their weapon strength is 27th, but as you can see the breakdown's different. So their weapon damage is only 8, but a massive amount of armor piercing, and obviously that bonus against large, and a slightly better charge attack bonus, but not much, than the spearmen. And they have the same abilities. They can hide, and they've got a charge defense. So these, like I said, a backbone of any Bretonnian Empire. We're just going to sort of send them in to kill some random orcs, I believe. We've got orcs somewhere there, probably. We'll find out soon enough. And we've got our little hero dude as well. We'll send him along for the ride. And so the main way you'd use these in battle is your standard line. You know, you might have 4 or 5, even 8 or 10 of these units that are your blocks of infantry. These are going to tie up the enemy. They're not going to win fights alone, so you generally want to sort of tie up the enemy with these troops and then hit them with with your cavalry in the side or the rear or something like that to actually win the attack. What are we fighting against? Some little goblins and an orc war boss who just looks spectacular. So they have obviously a slightly different use. I probably prefer the spearmen, just because. No, actually, probably prefer. They're actually pretty close. I think I've just discovered that they're actually pretty close, because the spearmen have those shields, which is really good. I suppose it depends who you're fighting against. If you're fighting against dwarfs a lot with their amount of missile infantry and all that stuff, then I'd be much more inclined to use the spearmen because of their shield. Just blocking all that damage from the front 90 degrees is just hugely helpful. If you're going up against a lot of big stuff, if you've got an orc army that's got a lot of trolls and all the giants and all that Ragnarok spiders and all that good stuff like that, then you might want to go for the polearms, because just they do a lot more armor piercing damage. If you're fighting, say, a goblin army, like, well, this is not a goblin army, it's kind of a goblin unit, but if you're fighting a little goblin unit like this, because of the attack speed of the polearms is quite slow, I prefer to use spearmen to fight them. We're just going to random. I'm not really explaining anything here, like showing you anything on the screen here. It's just we're just going to kill some goblins, because when is that never not fun? So even with our low leadership. So the big thing about these two units is that they have shit leadership. Let's face it. They're, as I said, orc and goblin based leadership, and what you need to do is keep their hero, because obviously you've got that bonus to leadership. You've also got your stand your ground with the Lord. And the blessings of the lady to take less damage. It's imperative that he stays with these units to keep them in the fight longer. You don't want to clog them down for too long, because their leadership will just get whittled down. Let's get a bit of speed on. That lasts for ages. We'll whack that in. We'll whack everything on. Why not? Oh, are we going? I love the way the Orc War Boss is just like, yeah, I don't give a shit about goblins. I'm just going to stand here and watch them all die. Have they broken yet? They're going to break quite soon. So as you see, goblins are very crap fighters, but we're not exactly slaughtering them, are we? Eventually, the morale losses, and especially once our hero gets in there at the front there, he's going to start demolishing them. But these guys are more your sort of bog standard troops that just hold that front line, using big numbers, use a couple of units to break a unit sort of thing. They're not very fighty at all. There you go, guys. There's my mini little guide to some of the Bretonnian units. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like button if you do. And go and check out all the other guides. I've done every single unit of all the other armies. Took me fucking ages, but it was good fun to do. And I learned a lot while doing it. So thank you very much for watching, guys. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.